Welcome to Blank Pages, the podcast, a podcast for people who appreciate the new beginnings of a clean slate, but strive for the courage, willingness, curiosity, and creativity only available on the blank pages of new possibilities. It's the potential to move beyond, move forward, where people are willing to make new decisions from fresh perspectives and are ready to write in a much better way. The world is waiting and listening, and nothing listens better than a blank piece of paper. So, hey, welcome to the show. I'm so glad that you are here today joining me and giving me some of your time. Let me get these headphones situated here. I'm excited about today's topic. I'm going to be following back up on this whole thing of coming out of turbulence and chaos, and also just paying attention to what took place. I mean, in our country, just a terrible act of violence and attempt to take a presidential candidate's life, or a former president. It's man, we're in a world where, I mean, I think we need to get better at being humans, right? And doing things better, and dealing with adversity and difficult things better. And I'm also a person who likes to talk about things that are actually either going on in the world, or actually I've experienced, recently gone through, or things I'm working with other people to go through, right? So this is kind of like, what's nice is the topic of what I'm on this chaos is kind of some things that I've learned about myself and my own journey, things that I've experienced working with people, be them relationships, friendships, clients, and it's relevant. It's relevant because it's challenges come and difficulties come, and sometimes they're turbulent, sometimes they're chaotic, right? So yeah, I want to get into that a little bit more. So I just want to say thank you again for those of you who've been listening and have been faithfully listening and doing so. I really appreciate it. I'm not one to chase and look at all the numbers and all of that, but I appreciate the feedback I get. I had someone say the other day, which was a tremendous compliment to me, and if you do not listen to Ed Milet, I encourage you to do so. So go listen to Ed Milet. But they gave a compliment. They said, hey, I listened to your podcast and I have it in my rotation with some Ed Milet. And I was like, hey, that was cool. That was a compliment. So, so any of you out there, I'm not looking for any compliment. I'm just trying to help you get some stuff that will help you in your life to have some shelf life, for you can reach and grab these resources and tools and ideas, thoughts, inspirations, things that I am trying to speak inspirationally to your aspirations, as well as give you some tools and things that you can use along the way. So, So if you haven't subscribed to the show, I'm asking if you would please do so. I'd appreciate it. Go to Apple Podcast, Spotify Podcast, Amazon Music. But I also want to bring this up. I haven't said much about this, and it's kind of like my, it's like my new go-to thing, which I need to talk more about some of the tools that I like to use. But also Odyssey. I listen to Odyssey, and I also listen to Audible. So Audible obviously is the book. So if you, the book, audio book, source. So my kid's book, Flit Learns to Fly, will be on there soon. But what I like is when I buy a book. So this is why I like this. And I'm telling you about this for subscribing to the show, because you can get Blank Pages, the podcast. So BL space NK space P space GES. So leave out the A's and spell Blank Pages, and you will find the podcast. But on Odyssey, I'm in there. So the reason I'm telling you about it is because I like to be able to, sometimes I'm reading a book, and then sometimes after I'm reading it in the chapters, like a great book by Erwin McManus I love reading called Mind Shift, is what's really cool is I read the book, and then I'll go listen to him do the audio book, and then I come back to the book again. And so I love that. But then he has a podcast too. So then I listen to his podcast that's also in Audible. So it's a nice way for me to have all those things in a location that I don't have to jump around and figure out how to get to this and that. So you can listen to the Blank Pages podcast, and you can follow it on the Odyssey app or on Audible. Odyssey is another like station where you can listen to podcasts and shows and so forth, so on. So please check it out there. I appreciate it. And also don't forget about Substack, because I am starting, developing some little essays and writing pieces that I'm going to start putting on Substack. So, I feel like there's a lot. So my show and tell today, before I get into today's message or topic, which is a message to me, because it's a message that I want you all to have in the world, that you can, if you would have put your compass to work, your captain's compass, like last week, what I had in the podcast episode before this one, it's if you would please realize that you are the captain of your boat and you have a compass and you got to get your true north. So I want this to get and to resonate with you deeply inside of you. So there's a story, right, that I gave to you last week, but there's a message in there that you are the captain and you need to learn to navigate your boat and remind yourself what your true north is. But anyways, my show and tell today kind of goes along with that. And it was a gift from my wife. And when she and her sister, they always wanted to go to Waco, Texas, and they went to Magnolia. And this was some time back. And this is a leather, a piece of leather that was cut out that you hang. And so this is normally hanging up. But it's the message on here. Because see, today's podcast that I'm going to talk about, which I don't really know, I have a title but my idea right now is what I can learn from chaos, trouble, and challenges, right? Coming out of it. What can I learn? What questions can I ask? And so, but you have to start with really knowing who you are when you want to ask these questions. And so this show and tell that I'm going to have, and I'll post a picture of it also that you'll be able to see, but it has the message that I feel like the recent turbulence I went through was like calling this into question. This was me making sure that I knew that this was still true of me, but it was literally like I felt assaulted and attacked around this, okay? Inside of myself, outside of me, but it was in me. But the good thing is I know that these things are true. So, authenticity is rarely found in grand gestures, not in lightning strikes or fireworks in the sky. It is a deep-rooted, gentle stirring, an invitation to be the only you there was ever meant to be. It's the clearing away of all that is not true, peeling back the layers until you discover what was there in the beginning. It's allowing yourself to be truly known and loved, as well as really knowing and loving someone else. It's the willingness to stand alone in doing what you believe is right, even when what's right isn't a popular choice. Authenticity can't be copied. It can't be false. It withstands shifting sand. It resists comparison. It defies seeing yourself as who you are less than or who you're not. It's acknowledging the difference between what is fake and what is real. Because when we are real, shabbiness won't matter. Lack will disappear and falling short will lose its foothold. So your time is now to welcome in the light that is all your own, to dive deep into the glorious reality of who you are meant to be. Let's not tarry, let's not hesitate in finding the one life we were born to claim. And so that's on here. And so the reason I wanted to, and I'm clearing my throat, I apologize for that. I need to get me I should put my throat clear little device in here again. Anyways, maybe the AI will take it out. So my topic that I want to get into, which to me, I'm just going to be human with this, all right? And so the sounds, noises, and all that, I apologize. I'll do my best to make sure they don't overwhelm. But I want to reflect, I want to help people reflect on experiences after navigating turbulent times, right? Turbulent things, difficult things, obstacles. So whether it's in life or work and relationships, because it's crucial for their growth and their learning. So I want to give 5 insightful questions an individual should ask themselves. Now, once again, this is because of what I went through. I'm literally, there are times, and we all go through them, and it's, and I can say like what I'm recently experiencing in my life is equivalent to some of the biggest life changes I've ever experienced in my life before. And it's because it's breaking apart of things that are inside that you may not even know are in there. Sometimes it takes a little bump. Like you don't know what's like, it could be at your house. You don't know what's behind the vinyl siding on your home or what's behind the shutter until you bang on it. And sometimes as we're growing and we're doing life and we're doing this life in the house called us and we're living in there, we're not paying attention sometimes. And so there are things that need to be pressure washed and things that need to be deep cleaned and things that we put inside of a closet and things that you put over here and things and we need to get into maybe looking at that house and paying attention to it, right? So what are the questions coming through difficult things? So in other words, a storm came, a bunch of stuff blew up and blew around in your home and whatever. So in your person, life has stirred up a bunch of stuff. And so the reason I'm bringing it up is because most of the time in our difficult times, in our turbulence, which what I went through last week, is you have to have preparation. You have to know how to be calm. You have to know how to lead yourself. Like, that's important. So we can't fix what you haven't done already, but what do you do when you come out of the storm? Because you're going to come out of it. I mean, I want to see you go into difficult things knowing that you're prepared to whatever level you can be, that you have understanding, because everything you come out of should give you more understanding to be able to deal with the next thing you've got to do. Everything should connect to the next. We should be always building and growing. It's called continuous improvement and continuous learning, and that's what we need to get into. So if you go through a difficult thing and you're not just freaking out and flailing around and destroying everything, it's kind of like the lifeguard that goes out to save the swimmer who's drowning and feeling desperate. The lifeguard's not sitting there going, what are you doing? How did you know you could swim out here? Do you know how to swim? Like, they don't have time for all these questions, but they're trying to save this person who may not be cooperating. They're afraid. And that's what happens when we get in. And when you're trying to work with people who are in chaos and they don't have a plan and they don't have themselves together and they haven't worked. I mean, it's normal. We're all like that. We all go through difficult things and we have different ways of reacting and responding. But sometimes that lifeguard is trying to save the life and almost loses their own in the process. And that's not the design. That's not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to put on our mask first, right? We're supposed to do those types of things. But then when we're out there trying to help people, we also have to know what are our options in helping people. But we also have to know, what about us? What if we're the ones that put ourselves in that situation? What do we learn from going out into the surf and not having the skills to swim, but because you wanted to impress someone or be with a group of people, or you didn't want to be left out, or because you don't want to look like you don't know what you're doing, for whatever reason it is, that's tied to something in there. So yeah, you could be a 60-year-old person who almost loses their life because when you were in your 20s, you never learned how to stop trying to impress people. I mean, it's that small and that big. So I'm going to give you 5 questions that I'm hoping are going to help you. And I don't really know, and I don't know how I'll continue with this or however, but I do want to put together some resource sheets to help people as they're coming out of with some insightful questions when they come out of difficult things for their life, just life, work, and relationships. My goal is to help people be better at being human beings, is for them to look at themselves and reflect on things. Yes, obviously listen to hear what people have to say, but also as you take that in, also you have to work on you. You have to live in your own skin and you have to work on those things to get better. So you don't want to just rely on outside. You want to hear the outside. You want to get your blind spot information. You even want to get the information that is blatantly obvious. But you still have to be open to more than the suggestions, to look within yourself, to bring to the surface the things, or be willing to uncover what it is that you need to uncover in order to navigate difficult things in life, because life is going to hand you more obstacles and difficulties. So here are the 5 questions. Number 1, and I'm going to give you a purpose and a consideration. So number 1, what did I learn about myself? Question 1 coming out of when you sit down and you get a notebook, like here's my remarkable right here, like what did I learn about myself? And so there's a real need to understand how the experience has contributed to self-awareness now. So what did that experience do for me being more aware, not just aware, but consciously aware of myself and how I am and how I'm operating? So the things that I want you to consider when you're asking that question, so like to understand how the experience has contributed to your self-awareness, right? For your self-management. But then the considerations, ready? Identify your strengths. Did you find anything new that you're strong at? What about the weaknesses? Anything weak that you realized was truly exposed? You already knew, but you didn't know how bad. Or any new insights that you gained about your character or your ability. What about your character? What did you discover about it? What about it's amazing, remember, guys, character is about it needs to be what constitutes, what is your chemistry? What is your makeup? That's the character, the material. What is it made of? Is it really what you say it is? Is it that solid foundational thing? Does it have that? Is it real? Is that character there? Is it made up of the materials needed? You and you alone need to answer that question. But then there's the abilities. And those abilities, you have to be honest with yourself. Now, and obviously with any of these discoveries, I encourage you to talk to others as well. Please bring these things up to other people to bounce this information off. But first, start with you. And you want to get with people that are honest. So the first question is, what did I learn about myself? The second one is, how did I handle the challenges? How did I handle the challenge? So what's the purpose? It's to evaluate your response to stress and adversity. Remember, adversity will reveal who you truly are and not who you say you are. And you can blame it on everything. You can blame it on the rain. You can blame it on another political party. You can blame it on family, friends, relatives, neighbors, people who made you happy, people who made you sad. You can do all of those things. But you want to be able to evaluate your stress, evaluate or be able to speak to your response to stress and adversity, because the real you shows up. So what is the consideration? You want to reflect on your problem solving skills. So what was your answer? Was your answer to maybe go after someone, berate somebody who didn't make something go your way? Was it to know the answer and withhold it? Because they didn't help you before. I mean, I don't know what people do to do whatever and what kind of trouble that came out of it. I don't know. And it could be bigger than that. There are some big things that take place, but you have to know, how are you solving the problem? What steps are you taking to bring resolution to it? Because if it's to mirror bad behavior, that's not good. If it's to mirror desperation, that's not good. You're also looking to consider, what does your emotional resilience look like and the strategies that you put to work to cope when you were in trouble. The third question, what could I have done differently? So number one was, what did I learn about myself? Number two, how did I handle the challenges? Number three, what could I have done differently? So the purpose of that question is to identify the areas for improvement and learn from any of your mistakes. So if I know, once I've done that and I've done a true inventory and said, now what am I going to do? How do I learn from this? I got to see, these are the areas I've got to grow in, and this is what I want to learn from these mistakes. I want to learn how to not be reactive. I want to learn how not to freak out. I want to learn you've got to really, once again, be honest with that. And then the considerations. Think about alternative approaches and actions that might have led to better outcomes. So here's, for instance, so one of the things that you could do, it's a coaching method, is when this happens, I get into this situation, I want someone to do X, Y, and Z. They don't do it the way that I want them to. This has happened over and over. Now it's super costly. Something really, really bad has happened. Whatever. I don't know what it is. So instead of your normal way, which has been maybe you lose it, you go off on them, you yell at people. I don't know what the story is, right? So instead of doing that, I will. You want to choose. What is that statement? What is your new direction that you want to do? I will. Coach yourself in another direction. What is the alternative? What action can you produce? What could make a better outcome? And remember, you want to align your intention with your impact. So what do you want the outcome to be, or the impact? So now you want to align your intentions with that. Well, you have to identify what you could have done differently in order to do that. Number 4, what support systems were most helpful? Now, this is a big one because some people find themselves without support systems. And this is where it can get really hard. I don't know about you, and I've done that before. I have made messes of friendships and relationships before. especially when I was younger. I mean, and I'll probably do more talks about things like this, but when we get down to it, I mean, there's a lot of people that maybe have never caused a problem in the friendship, but they've never contributed anything either. Right? So there's all kinds of things that you can go through and look at. No one is perfect in relationships. So one of the things we have to think about is, know what you're doing in relationship, why you're trying to do what you're doing, what's the motives behind what you're doing. Like, the more you get clear on that, the better, because that way you're not damaging things. You're not harming people. You're thinking of others, right? So what support systems were most helpful? So the purpose of that is to recognize the importance of support and how it can contribute, or how it contributed to the navigating of the turbulence. So if you were in the turbulence and you realize you don't have the support system, that should tell you something. You need to be asking, what happened? Where did it go? The considerations is because you want to reflect on the role of the people in your life, family, friends, colleagues, professional help, and how you have historically used those relationships in the past, how you have taken care of them or not taken care of them in the past, how you have harmed them in the past. Not what you think you've done, it's what has happened for them. And see, that's the other part. Like, I can come to you and say, here's what you should do in response to what someone does. That's my opinion. Right? Like, there are people that think if someone gives you a gift, it's only right that you give a gift back. That's not my world. I believe you give as you intend to give, and you give wholeheartedly, and you give without strings or an attachment to it. There are no strings attached. You do not legislate how people are to love you back, right? You can't control them. Right? Now, you can set boundaries of what you're willing to receive. That's fine. But you can't force people. So what support systems were most helpful? If you don't have them, you need to build them. And I'll make a note to myself too. How do I build a support system? Building a good support. So, because I don't want anyone to be sad, but the best way to start, if you want to know how to build a support system, is the first thing you want to do is just reach out to those that maybe you've harmed. If you want them back and burned a bridge or whatever, you just apologize and leave it there. Ask for forgiveness. And if they reach back out, great. If not, then you got your answer. I mean, I've had to do that myself. Once again, you can't force people. And no matter what I think, it's just the way it is. So what do? You become mindful, and your heart can be sad, but you've got to turn that into, what am I going to do to improve myself to be in a different situation? And I'm talking about the things within your own control, right? So reflect on the role of the people in your life, or the ones you want in your life, and reflect on how you used them historically and how you need to in the future, how to make some adjustments. And it's just simple stuff. In other words, what that means is if they help you, you let them know whether or not you help or not. I mean, be open with them. Well, what your intentions are, whatever. Like, just be clear. Make relationships about being authentic, upfront, and clear. Number 5, how will this experience shape my future actions and decisions? In other words, what am I going to allow it to do? So the purpose is to integrate the lessons that you learn into future behavior and decision-making processes, right? So what I want to do is I want to bring all this stuff. What am I learning? I want to bring it into my world and into my life and into my future, because I'm a future person. I'm still an idealist, right? But I have to bring in this pragmatic 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to help me be with my being an idealistic person, to be a person who believes in an ambitious future, a person who has incredible desire and drive for continuous improvement and growing. And it's not because I'm not content. It's because I believe that people can be extraordinary and can be better. That's what I believe. And then the considerations is determine how this experience will influence your approach to similar situations in the future, right? So next time this happens, what will I do? Including changes in attitudes and habits and strategies. Because when you reflect on these qualities, it's going to help you get the valuable insight for your growth that you hopefully are wanting. This is going to help you better navigate your future challenges. So what can you learn from the chaos, from the trouble, from the challenges? I mean, I'm hoping you can learn a lot, because I'm learning every day. And I'm coming through some things that have dislodged some stuff inside of me, which is really good. And I'm grateful for where it is. I'm grateful for just being able to reevaluate yourself, how you handle challenges, how you can do things different. What do your support systems look like? And then shaping for the future. Remember, this is your blank page moment. How are you going to take what you learn, and how are you going to now look at it with a clear mind, clear heart, with the purest of intention, and without anyone else having to be responsible for it? You take your first step forward with knowing what you learn about yourself, getting your understanding, right? Secondly, how do you handle challenges and how you want to do it moving forward? Thirdly, what can you do differently? What support system do you have? And if you don't, how can you build it? And then how will the experience that you have, how will you use that to help you inform better future decisions and actions? You got this. I'm very happy and excited for you. So until next time, we'll talk soon.